What's going on, everyone? So today I will be interviewing Dr. Heavenly Kimes from the show Married to Medicine. I want to definitely thank Dr. Heavenly for taking the time out of her busy day to sit here and join us. So Dr. Heavenly, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about being here.
All right, so Dr. Heavenly, could you tell people just a little bit about yourself for those who may not know who you are?
Well, first of all, I'm a child of God. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a dentist, practice owner, and I do a whole lot of other things. But what I'm most known for is being a relationship expert on and off the show.
All right, so what made you said you was a dentist? What made you pursue a career in dentistry?
Well, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor. And when I had some recruiters, I was an undergrad at FAMU, Rattlers. I was in undergrad, and there was some recruiters that came from dental school, and they talked to us about dentistry, how much money you made. You know, you didn't have to do a long residency, and you could set your own hours. Now, in my life, I always wanted to be a mother, and be married. So I felt like dentistry would be a better fit for me because I wouldn't have to be on call. I didn't have to be, and I could set my hours and still be a wife and mother. So that's why I chose it. But I do love dentistry, making people smile, making them beautiful. But I chose it more so for a lifestyle.
So is this something that you do Monday through Friday, or is it true kind of what they allude on the show that you do it part time?
Well, initially when I started, of course, I did it for 5, sometimes 6 days a week. But right now, I scaled back. I actually practice 2 days a week now.
Two
So
days.
yes, fine. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So now, do you think a lot of people overlook their dental health?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they overlook it until they have pain. The problem with dentistry is nobody really wants to go to the dentist until they're having a problem. And then when you have a problem, that's when it's going to hurt, and that's when it's going to hurt your mouth and your pocket. So I always advise people, floss. Come see the dentist twice a year, and you won't have to go through those things because there's nothing like dental pain. It's worse than having a baby, from what I hear.
I've heard that too, and I've had that in the past, and I tell you what, that's not nothing you really want to deal with is your mouth hurting like that. Now, what major health issues that could stem from possibly neglecting your dental health?
Well, they always talk about the bacteremias that can go to your heart and cause heart problems. So that's the main thing. But the thing about dentistry is it's the first diagnosis a lot of times to certain diseases. They used to be Kaposi's sarcoma, for HIV. You can look at somebody's mouth and see if they got the oral flush, meaning they have an immunodeficiency problems. It's a lot of stuff you can diagnose. But the main thing is that bacteremia to your heart.
All right, now, when you were approached to be on the show Married to Medicine, how did that come about?
Well, long story short, when I was initially approached, I did not want to do it. I said no, the first season. I did not know what it was. I felt like it was reality TV. I never watched reality TV, but I knew it was a negative connotation to it. But after the first season, the producers reached out to me after that, and I saw the viewers. So, my mind is always working. Who can I empower? My business mind is saying I can market to all these people. So the second year when they came back and they asked me to be on the show, I thought it might negatively impact my practice. So they told me to go talk to Dr. Jackie, and I did. And she had a positive experience. So, I went back there, talked to my husband, and he actually was the one that encouraged me to do the show. He thought I'd be good at it.
Thought you'd be good at. A lot of times with husbands, we know sometimes what's good. At least with our wives, and like I said, I'm married myself, so that's pretty good. Now being on the show and your family constantly being filmed, have you had any like issues with maybe your husband or your kids? Like, okay, I'm kind of tired of these cameras being around.
Yeah, there's times that we get sick of the cameras, but one of the great things about our show is because we're actually professionals, they actually work around our schedule pretty well. My husband, he's an ER doctor, and he actually has his own practice, so they work around our schedules and ask us when we're available to film, which helps out tremendously. I don't know if other reality TV programs are like that, but they work around our schedules quite well.
Now I see that you have a very close relationship with your daughter. At least that's what's portrayed on the show, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I have a close relationship with all my kids, but my boys don't like to film as well.
Okay. So when it comes to children, those that's watched the show that would say that you have alluded that kids should be able to freely express themselves in a lot of
Right.
ways.
Mhm.
Could you explain a little bit more with that? Because it seems like they could say a little bit more than what the average parent would allow a child to say.
Well, the interesting thing is, I think that there's a lot of different types of parenting, but I think it's a lot of different types of kids. And for my children, they're very bright, they're very insightful. And I think through the mouth of a child, a lot of times my daughter can tell me something that I would not listen to somebody else, but because it's coming from her and she has a great impression on me, I'll listen and take heed to it. Yeah, I mean, I just think my daughter and my kids are so smart that they should be allowed to express themselves. I mean, like it's a lot of times that people say she goes too far, but it's only little snippets. My girl is very respectful and she's very mindful, and she knows exactly what she's saying and doing. So I love that about her, and I
So,
can't shut that down. And the thing that she does, she gets it from me. She does what she sees. So I have to be very mindful of what I do in front of her.
so you said people say she go too far. What's an example of someone has brought to your attention that she went too far?
Well, nothing really. I mean, like on this show, you'll see that there are little snippets on the show that you really don't get the whole conversation. For example, anything. I mean, she could be talking about something else and then they'll clip it up. But I know what she's saying. She knows what she's saying. And I don't think it's portrayed as something negative. She just tells me her honest opinion.
Okay, so her honest opinion, people still think that's taking it too far.
Sometimes, on reality TV, everybody has an opinion about, the people on the show. And of course, we put ourselves out there to be judged. But I think a lot of times people judge and they don't think for themselves and they don't see the whole story. So I think they judge that with in ignorance. Some of them.
Well, as a person that gets involved with editing, people can make you look a certain way if they do edit it. So, sometimes it's kind of like more so what they present, more so than people actually thinking, because they kind of trying to craft a certain little narrative.
Like if something said, sometimes you have to use your brain. One of the great things about Hitler, and I followed him a lot of times, is that the reason he was able to do so much and do so many things to people is because they don't think for themselves. And I think, you got to think for yourself. Now, would I allow my daughter to be, I think she's going to be a great whatever she decides to be. She's smart. She makes great grades in school. But, everybody, I don't know if you know Twitter, everybody has something negative to say about everything. But they're looking at little snippets of my life. But my life is probably better than a lot of people that are commenting.
Well, that's two things I want to harp on that you just said. You say you follow Hitler. You mean you looked into like what made him rise to power, or you?
Right, no, no. I'm saying I've read the books about what he's
Okay.
done and how he did it, and I thought it was very interesting how he was able to do it. Not saying that anything he did was right, but it was powerful the way that he was allowed to do it based on saying things over and over again. And, I hate to go all political, but I think that's how Trump came, saying the same things, whether it's true or not. People don't think for themselves. They'll believe what is said over and over again. And that's a biblical principle, but it's also a universal principle that very successful people have captured and know that it works. So if you say something over and over again, people believe it without thinking a lot of times for themselves.
Yeah, it's the power of really repetition. And yeah, Trump had a lot of Hitler esque things that he's done, and we definitely can get into that. But you had also just stated that you said the people that watch, and let me make sure I'm quoting this right. What you just said is that your
Mhm.
life is better than the people that watch. Is that what you just said?
No, that's not what I
What
meant.
was
What
you?
I mean is a lot of times people judge with a small snippet of what's going on without
Mm-hmm.
seeing the full picture. You know, I
Oh,
think I have a great relationship with my family, my kids, my husband. It's not perfect. No, nobody's perfect, but I think that I'm perfect in spirit, and I think everybody is perfect in their spirit if they're Christians.
all right. So now, also I want to definitely congratulate you on your weight loss because, you have lost at least a minimum of 100 pounds, correct?
No, I lost about 65, 70 pounds. I don't know why people say 100, 150 pounds. Actually, I gained a lot of weight with my last child. I had my last child, my little girl, at 34. And I know, after 35 is high risk and all that. So I actually planned it or whatever. I gained a lot of weight, but I lost it over time. So praise the Lord for that. And it's a constant struggle for me.
So how did you lose it?
Man, I tried everything. I actually got a trainer. I got a nutritionist, an advisor. My husband was helping me. I did everything. I did everything you could think of to lose weight. But now I realize it's in your mind. Just like I said, you got to think it's in your mind. If you have the power to say things over and over again, and what I do is positive affirmations on my bathroom wall, on my wall at my job, to remind myself what I have to do and why I have to do it. So it's a mindset thing, and you have to change your mind.
Yeah, because I had viewed that actually last night on the show that you was writing on your mirror certain things to yourself.
Yes, positive affirmations. Now, usually I use sticky pads, but I only had a marker at that time. But yeah, I have sticky notes all over, and it helps me. Positive affirmations. I'm saying it really helps you. And it's biblical. If you repeat something over and over, if you see it, if you say it, if you do it, you can accomplish anything in your life. You can accomplish anything. And that's from weight loss to business to relationship success. I really firmly believe that.
So, I hear you mentioning the Lord a lot. So you profess, you're saying you're a Christian, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think just here lately, I become more involved in the church, going to church every Sunday, and I've been convicted more and more. And I saw a reason for change on this season because I think everybody has something to work on, but I'm working hard to be the best me I can be, whether it be like weight loss, whether it be in business, whether it be spiritual, everything.
So, I definitely viewed a episode where you was having a conversation, I think, with a friend of yours that's a pastor or someone within ministry. And, okay, and you were just discussing your issue with her. And then I think the same episode or maybe another one that you had a disagreement with a lady by the name of Janice. Do you remember that?
And that was not the same episode. I think you putting snippets together, but I will say that nobody's perfect, and if you come at me wrong, I might say the wrong thing. So I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm in a way of working on myself, getting better and better. But I'm not perfect, just like you're not.
No. It's just nothing about me. I would never say I'm perfect. I am a work in progress to the day the Lord is getting ready for me. But the question I had is that when you guys had a difference of opinion and you had told her in the midst of that conversation that you was better than her, did you say that out of anger or do you actually mean that?
I don't think I said that. I don't even remember saying that. Let me tell you, I don't think I'm better than anyone. I think that when she initially approached me, I think she had a representation of me. She did not know me. I did not know her. She came up to me. They started talking. Like I say, it's a small snippet of the conversation. To be quite honest, I don't think I said anything that wrong to her. She said she worked in her husband's office. I said she worked with her husband. She made a big deal about it. I think that people are offended because of their insecurities a lot of times, but that makes no other mind, because if I did something that offended somebody, I have to retract it and apologize, whether it was intentional or not. And that's one of the things I'm learning, that whether you are intentional or not, you have to apologize, and I did just that.
Okay, so when you had asked your daughter, and like say, of course, when we look at things, we kind of take them from what, people definitely asking us to look at. So you asked your daughter about, in one episode, about how you respond to people, and she imitated you. Did that bother you any?
No, actually, I was taken back by the way she said that sometimes I can be mean to her. I mean, of course, everybody has parts of them that they don't like or they want to change. But it impacted me that she felt that I was sometimes mean towards her, which I think everybody's mean sometimes, but it meant a lot coming from her. And that's when I was like, listen, you know what? I need to make a change. I really do. So I'm humble enough to say that, if I need to make a change, the first place I need to go is to God, so let me talk to my spiritual advisor and see what I can do to make it better.
Correct. Now, do you feel the show is an accurate representation of who you are when people see that?
I think it's small snippets of your life, just like I think that your personality does shine through a bit, but I think you just get small snippets. So no, not a perfect representation, but I think you can tell if somebody has evil intent. And that's why on the show, nobody's really angry at me. Well, one person is, but she, it's a lot of joning, it's a lot of playing. Everybody reads each other, whatever, whatever. But people know my heart, and I think that if you talk to most of the people on the show, they'll say Heavenly has a good heart. So your question was, is it an actual representation? No, but I think it does. You can see somebody's spirit, and you can see their personality shine through.
So do you feel, based on what you just said, so when you say people can make up their own mind, do you think they're making up their own mind based off a small representation that's not the full picture, correct? About
I
you.
think that everyone's perception is their reality. I think that there are certain people in this world that love Dr. Heavenly because she's real, because she says exactly what's on her mind. And I think that other people may not. I mean, it's like on the show, everybody has their fan favorites, but it's not about that person. It's about the person that's watching it, and what they're seeing about it in themselves, in their past, or what they've been through. So everybody, their perception is their reality. So whatever they perceive is what they believe. If
Yeah,
you understand what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah. I know exactly what you're saying because, like, when I was reviewing everything, I saw when you was on the first time you was on the show,
Hmm.
and they had maybe had people went back and forth with you a little bit about differences of opinion, and then I saw how you respond now. Say, whoa, what happened there? It's like you let it low, you let it loose. So you think on the first season you was kind of more reserved?
I think on the first season they cut out a whole lot. I think a lot was said on both parts. I think that, for example, I'm gonna be very honest with you. On the
Correct.
show, the reason I was so upset with the new girl was that I hadn't done really anything to her, in my opinion. When we left that scene, that party, she had no problem with me. We hugged, we left, right? Okay, the next time I hear about this girl, she's going to everybody on the show, on camera, talking negatively about me. And my whole thing is, if you got a problem with me, sister, come talk to me, not everybody else on the show. And that's why I was saying, what real women do is come talk to somebody if they have a problem or issue with you. Like, mindfully, I did not know that her husband's wife died, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal because we were having a whole conversation, if you're watching the show, that the husband was telling me about the relationship with their kids, about their marriage and everything. And they showed one snippet, but he was sharing with me that 3 of the kids was his, 2 of them were hers, one of them they had together. It was a longer conversation. So being a relationship expert, I asked them because I was intuitive, like, I know a lot of people. The woman never gives up her kids in custody. I just didn't understand that. And for me, I was like, dude, how did you get full custody of your kids? Because that never happens. You're a doctor, the lady has 3 kids, but then I didn't consider the lady had died. And I was like, ooh, I feel like production set me up, so I didn't say anything else that night. But I think they show small snippets. I think that I'm intuitive. I'm gonna ask questions. But I think that all in all, I think it plays out well for the audience, and I think they give the people what they want: the drama, the action, and the different emotions.
So you say you're a relationship expert. How long you been
Yes,
married?
I've been married nearly 20 years. If you want to ask me about being a relationship expert, I actually used to do a radio show, something similar to what you're doing. It was the Dr. Heavenly radio show. It was on
Hmm.
a local station, CBS Radio WAOK. And I want to talk about business because I've run several businesses. I ran dental practices. I would build them up and sell them for years. I've run 9 practices. I've sold 7 successful practices. So I want to talk about business because I made all the mistakes in the world. I kept talking about, the money mistakes, the mistakes I didn't know. So I wanted to help people with business. But when I went on the show, nobody wanted to hear about business. Everybody was like, Heavenly, how can you have 3 kids, 4 dogs, and keep your man happy at the same time? How did you find a doctor husband? All my questions were about relationships and not business. So I kind of conceded to talking about what people wanted to hear from me. So I took it a step further, got certified as a certified relationship coach, and since then, I've been answering relationship questions.
So people that would ask you those questions, which probably be, maybe a lot of women that want to be married, what you would normally tell them?
Well, first of all, I say you have to be whole for yourself. A lot of times women are, I ain't gonna say desperate, but they're allowing men to do a lot of things that a man himself could not respect you if you allowed him to do these certain things. And I think that if the right man comes for you from God, you'll know it not by his words but by his actions. And I think that what I'm portraying most and what I see in my book, I have a book, The Business of Love. What I say is you got to become the right woman so the right man can find you. And I think that's the best way for it to work.
So I heard you say also in the past, at least regarding relationships, that a woman should submit. Could you explain a little bit of that?
Well, I was kind of messing with the doctors because I kind of felt like they were emasculating their husbands, saying that their meals need to be done. I think you should submit to each other. I just had a long conversation with somebody in church, and now they're teaching in my church that a couple is equal; they're equal partners. Now, I have a hard time with that. I honestly do believe, with all my heart and soul, that a man should be the leader of the household. Now, if you're married to the right man, will he dominate over you? Will he make you a slave? No, absolutely not. He knows that his wife is intelligent, and there are certain things that a wife can do that he can't probably do. I think that if your husband loves you like Christ loved the church, he's going to value your opinion. Now, the Bible says we should submit upon one another, and I read that. So yeah, absolutely, you should submit to your husband, but he should submit to you as well. But I do believe firmly that there has to be a leader of the household, and I think by the Bible, it has to be the man. That's what I believe.
Well, it's definitely, you're right by the Bible, and a man should lead the household, but the man also should, be responsible enough and do the things he's supposed to do. So a woman would feel comfortable submitting to his leadership as well, because we have some guys that are run off of that. You supposed to submit. I'm the leader, but you being the fool of the house. So why would anybody submit to you? Even the dog shouldn't even submit to you at this point.
My answer used to be, if you can't submit to him, you shouldn't have married him. But now in society today, and I know they're trying to bend the Bible, but the Bible was written and it cannot change. The word cannot change, but people are trying to interpret it differently now and saying that, it's equal. The man and the woman is equal. I don't believe that. But I do understand that they gotta make a change because the brother's not stepping up. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. I talk to women all the time, and it's not one incident, it's an epidemic that the men are not being providers. They're not praying, protecting, and providing for their family. So the woman had to step up and become, the breadwinner or take over, So it's just hard. I mean, I think that everybody's situation is different. And if you watch our show, everybody's situation is different. You got to do what works best for you. And I know I be talking too much, but hell, a lot of times they say it's sexy for a man to cook for you and clean and, wash the clothes. That ain't sexy to me. I want a man to chop some bricks and bring home a check. That's just me. Everybody different. But now they say that, I submit to I enjoy serving my husband. You know what I mean? I feel like he's worth it. He's a man of God. He protects me. He provides me, makes me feel safe and secure. So what I'm saying again is everybody's situation is different. You got to go by what you think. And I've talked to a lot of people, and I understand now why they feel the way that they do, because sometimes these brothers not doing what they're supposed to do, sir.
Well, Heavenly, I can tell you as a man what causes a lot of those problems. And you see, if we had more people maybe came from a background like you, been married 20 years, raising the kids in the household, then we probably wouldn't have a lot of that problem, because your kids see an example of what a man's supposed to be, a provider, loving the wife, XYZ. But you have a lot of these young boys coming out of single parent households that's not seeing what your husband is doing, correct? All they're seeing is what their mom is doing.
The interesting thing about that is I think you got to take it back to the church, because my husband grew up in a single family household. You got to teach people what's right, and you can't bend the Bible based on. I need to go on and take a theology class and become a preacher, because I haven't read the Bible, but I get the concept. I go to Bible study and I got some of it, but from my understanding is you can't bend the Bible just based on your situation. You grew up in a single household, and I get that, but it doesn't make it right.
Well, now let me ask you a question. Did your husband have some sort of male influence around, maybe his dad, uncle, grandfather, some man to show him the right way?
His grandfather was there, but not too much. He was raised pretty much by his mother and his grandmother. So I think he saw the pain, of the man not being around. And I think that he knew from that situation that he wanted to be a better man. That's what I get, because he grew up with his mom and his grandmom. He never really saw that male figure. The grandfather was there, but he was in and out of the household. The father was not there at all. I think he met his father one time. So
Yeah, and you have some young men that has, some resolve, and some maybe need more guidance from other men than others, correct?
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
the thing is that, at least is what I tell people, male and female, is that don't have children unless you're married, because we need our kids raised in 2-parent households. That's why I can tell you a lot of these guys are sorry today. It's because they don't have the proper role model of a father. They just don't. And it does have an effect on our boys. It grows to be men. They stay in the house with their mama and everything else. They don't want to do what's right. And you have to raise a lot of these guys, unfortunately. And then you have some women who don't really know how to be in a relationship. And they don't know how to, like you say, submit or do what's right either. So we having this powder keg of relationship problems within our community.
I agree 100%. And the interesting about, give me your name one more time. I didn't get your
My
name.
my name my name is Philip
Philip. Philip. What's your last name, Philip?
Scott.
Philip Scott. It's interesting that you say this because, like, when I'm talking to women, they get offended when I say the man should be the leader of the household. They get offended and they act like they only hear one part of me when I say you should submit to each other. All they hear is that submission, that dominion, and they immediately come to the attack on me like heavenly. No, the man. I agree with you 100%, but I guess I agree with you because you're coming from a male point of view. But if you're a woman, a lot of women don't agree with that. A lot of them don't.
And most of those women that don't agree with that, 9 times out of 10, is going to stay single for the rest of their life. Because, when it comes to just, and some people don't like what I say either. Trust me, you're not the only one. I feel a man has a role and a woman has a role. I'm not saying your role is diminished because of your gender, but in a traditional family, we have a role to make it work together, right? And when the two come together, it becomes one, correct? A
Absolutely.
well-oiled machine. And the problem is when you have one that say, oh, well, he ain't gonna tell me what to do. I do what I want to do. Okay, fine. Well, a real man is gonna let you stay by yourself because he's not gonna have you talking to him like that.
The interesting thing about that, Philip, is I don't know why women don't get that. I think that they've seen so many things happen in their lifetime that it becomes almost like they feel like they gotta stand up when they don't. They can actually be in silence and get more accomplished than just trying to dominate. I don't know, Philip. I mean, we could talk about this all day, but I don't get it. But I talk to women all the time, and they say they're gonna do what they want to do, but then they dealing with so much mess. The man ain't coming home. This, that, and other, but they won't submit. They won't
Well,
listen
well,
to them.
well, you why would he come home every time you just talking and saying stuff that's not even Sometimes I had told this one sister a long time ago. I said, listen, you'll get more men if you smile. And she said, I'm gonna try that. And then she come back and said, wow, so many guys are talking to me just because I had a smile on my face. I said, yeah, that actually
Yeah.
stands out a little bit more. A simple smile, that's
Yeah,
it.
and a lot of women feel like it's just looks. I mean, don't get me wrong, looks help with a lot of men, but it's way more than that, sister. Just because you're beautiful don't mean, and it's so many beautiful women that are by themselves. I remember even in undergrad and even in dental school, it was some beautiful women, but all of them were single, and they were wondering why. And it was so obvious to me. It was so obvious.
Well, yeah, as a guy, you'll see a woman like that, and you're like, well, wow, she looks good. What's up with her? Then you get to know her, like, this woman crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna fool with her, or she got an attitude, or she's judging you based on the last 3, 4 guys that she been with, and they're like, dude, I don't have their social security number, their name, or their faces. Why are you convicting me of their sin?
And then they'll say the men are insecure, they can't handle a woman. Like, nah,
A
boo.
man is supposed to handle you. You're not an animal,
Right, right. Right, I agree with you, Philip. I'm
you
with you,
know.
Philip. And then women don't understand why I think the way that I do. I think for myself. I just can't understand why a man would do that. I know y'all got ego. I know y'all got, and if you want a good man, you better have a man with ego that has the man. I just like a manly man. And now it's like it's a small line between androgynous. Like they trying to make a man, okay, you clean up, you do this, that, and the other. You would even like the fashion now comes down to a line that the men kind of wearing dresses, so you can't tell what the hell a woman. I think a man should be a man and a woman should be a woman. That's just me. They say I'm old fashioned, but that's who I am.
Yeah, I'm old fashioned too because there's some things I don't even do with my kids versus others because I'm just too old school. I was raised old school, and then my wife, she still got old school too. So it works better for me. Like you said, all these neon color clothing these guys are wearing nowadays, pink, and I'm just too old school. Like, the only time you gonna see me with pink is maybe if I'm doing something for breast cancer. If it ain't breast cancer, you ain't gonna see me with no pink on. It's like some people say, well, it's about this, you should be comfortable in your sexuality. I am comfortable in everything I have, but I grew up in a time period where men had to be men. And you don't play that. Sure, you get beat up and ran out of the neighborhood or something like that.
And that's what I like. I like a manly man. I can't take no different. And that's just me. Maybe it's something different for other people, but I that's for me. Everybody different. And that's why this country has so many issues because they won't let people live the life that they want to live. Now, certain things I don't get an opinion on because I'm a Christian. Certain things I can talk about and I ain't gonna bring up, I don't get an opinion on. But my whole thing is this country was built on a lot of different religions. It was built on a lot of different thought processes. As long as you ain't hurt me, I ain't hurt you. Do you. Do you. But for me, I'm going to serve God and I want me a manly man. That's just me. And I want him to work. I want him to pray. I want to protect and provide for me and my family. That's what I want.
And that's a great thing. And I know, Dr. Heavenly, a lot of people going to get to this part of the conversation. And them comments gonna be flying away. I already know. You're like, who do you think he is? What's she talking about? And like, it is what it is.
Baby, I'm used to it. I just say what I think, and when I do, like sometimes on the TV, I will say something that I did not mean. Example, somebody under me or beneath me, I did not mean it, and I feel bad about it. But if I meant what I said, I could give a daggone what you think. Really, that's me.
That's the only way really to live is because, at the end of the day, I say the only people I really focus on is, what the Lord think about me, my wife, my children. That's mostly who I focused on. Or friends that I know who really genuinely know me and love me and care about me. I would listen to their opinion. But other than that, no, you're not going to make it very far taking every opinion that comes your way. So, Dr. Heavenly, I definitely want to thank you for this great and engaging conversation.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah, and like I said, don't be a stranger. Talk to us more. I would love to actually go out there to Atlanta. I've never been. I need to get out there.
Where are you?
I'm in Houston.
Okay, love Houston. Love Houston. They got a new show, Married to Medicine Houston, out there.
I just researched into that. I saw that. So I was kind of just getting familiar with that. But yeah, I have to get out there to Atlanta because, I like there's a lot of successful black people there. And I think that's something positive to see because, the media don't like to show that, black people in that kind of light. So I definitely would like to go there and just visit and, be around.
And Philip, I want to leave you with one thing.
Sure.
A positive thing about our show. I mean, granted, we are reality TV and that comes with a negative stigma anyway. And of course, they got to have a drama. They got to have they arguments, they bitches, whatever. But on our show, we show real educated people. And it makes it look like it's the norm. It's not, because we're 1% of the population. We're married, we have children, we're really successful, and it just gives people an opinion like, hey, they down to earth, they just like me. So I think one thing we are doing good is we're showing the world that black people can be successful, they can be married, they can have functional families, but they still have the same issues, people are people. So if they could do it, I can too. And that's all I'm putting out there for the young sisters.
Correct, and because we definitely need to see more positivity within our community, for sure. So, Dr. Heavenly, I'll say thank you for joining us today, and great, interview, and hope the practice grow more and more.
Oh, absolutely. And guys, you can follow me on my website, drheavenly.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at dr_heavenly. That's Dr_Heavenly. Thanks again, Philip.